So what happens when two third-generation Arizona women authors who are passionate about their state start talking about experiences, insights, and memories of different places? They don't stop talking. They write a book, and then they start a podcast. Welcome to Celebrating Arizona with Julie Morrison and Lisa Schnebly Heidinger. Grab your favorite drink and settle in. We're celebrating Arizona, going everywhere from A to Z. And we're off.
So here we are celebrating Arizona, and I have something kind of exciting. Julie is off hunting jackalopes right now, but we are proud to announce our very first ever guest, and it's familiar to y'all. That wonderful voice that some of you have asked us about, the announcer Dana Cooper. Guess who's here? Say hello to the nice people, Dana Cooper.
And we're off. Hello, nice people.
And we have something that's very celebratory of Arizona to talk about because we just got back, Dana Cooper and I, and 12 of our closest friends, including his fiance, his very closest friends, off the 7-night, 8-day Colorado River trip through the Grand Canyon.
Yeah, it was beyond, as you can tell, beyond describable in many ways. And all the platitudes certainly come to mind. Amazing, unbelievable. And so it takes a while for it to settle in. It's just hour by hour, bend by bend in the river, just one jaw-dropping sight after another. And to be able to see it from that perspective was really extraordinary. So thank you for being our group's great convener.
Oh, it was wonderful. And when you said bend by bend, I had an image of the silt whenever we would walk into the river, which we did repeatedly for 1,000 reasons. The dust comes, not dust, silt, I guess, rises up around our feet and ankles and takes a while to kind of settle down. And maybe the impressions and memories have to do that too. Maybe
Yeah,
it
I
needs
think
to
so.
define.
I certainly have dozens of photographs that I took, and then the Google Drive that somebody created, where you can see the pictures that other people took. But the things that really settle into your heart and mind that stick with you, I think they take a while to percolate in there and really take hold. So as it should be. We didn't go down the river in one day, and all those memories won't settle into the deepest parts of our soul in one day either.
That's well put, yeah. But madcap excitement, and you were the one who pointed out the sensations and experiences of being rained on our very first lunch.
Yeah, it was just 7.5 days of really great weather, but we got the bad weather out of the way early on. So, I'll always remember pulling off to the edge of the river and the crew setting up a lunch table. Here comes an Arizona monsoon dumping rain on us while we're huddled under the canopy of a tree. And I'll always remember the peanut butter and jelly jars open on the table with a half an inch of water sitting on top of them. And hey, this is how we got to eat lunch. This is how we got to eat lunch. And then I think it was the next day, like a haboob, a river haboob came zipping up the canyon, and man, sand and dust blowing everywhere. We scrambled to secure our tents, and other than that, the weather was really terrific.
Yeah, and although I confess to a little nostalgia for the rain on a couple of those nights, lying in the tent thinking, mercy, it's hot. But we went because we wanted elemental experiences, and
That's
by
right.
gosh, we
Yeah,
got them.
we got it all. You got to embrace it all. Yeah.
I've forgotten, and you may remember, that wonderful concert that they had Ben, our assistant, give us, some canyon or other. I didn't write it down, but the acoustics were amazing in that little slot canyon full of rock.
Yeah, just this young man that brought his guitar along regaled us with a half an hour of music, sitting up on a big boulder, and to be in a place like that. And I called him Gentle Ben. He was so quiet, you barely heard 2 words out of him for the first 4 or 5 days of the trip, and then here he comes, and he just loves singing folk songs and playing guitar, and it was just a really incredible setting for that.
Yeah. Now you took the Deer Creek Falls hike that I did not all the women stayed there at the base of this gorgeous thundering waterfall, had kind of a little spa and meditation time. But how was that hike?
It was really fantastic. It was multifaceted. The first probably half an hour, a fairly aggressive climb up the desert scrub hill. And then we got up onto a little plateau and came around the corner, and you could see the opening of this slot canyon. And there was a point in the slot canyon where you really had to turn sideways in the canyon. The serpentine canyon is probably 200 feet below the little creek bed, and you're hanging on to the face of the cliff, not with your fingernails or anything. You're shuffling sideways, and it certainly was manageable, but your heart rate accelerated a little bit there. And you come around the corner, and boom, it opens up to a place they call the patio, where Deer Creek comes down from the hills and it rolls over the bedrock. And there were 3 or 4 of these really beautiful pools about the size of a large bathtub or a jacuzzi, and cottonwood trees and reeds and a rich undergrowth. And it was worth every step on the climb and the tiptoe hike across the ledge. And I found a place just to lay down in the stream bed and look up at the trees overhead and the sky. So it was extraordinary.
Terrific. And lying and looking up reminds me of, to me, overwhelming number of stars. When I'm home or somewhere reasonable, I can find Orion. But in this case, I felt like there were all these stars, like hungry actors trying out for a part. The sky was too crowded. I couldn't find anything. Did you do better than I did at that?
Well, yeah, I found the Dipper, the Big Dipper, the Little Dipper, Orion, and could actually see the Milky Way, which is not something that I'd seen here in Tucson for some time in the night sky. And then, I usually counted 2 or 3 satellites before I eventually fell off to sleep. And the night sky peering through the mesh dome of the tent was really a beautiful sight each night.
Yeah, amazing. Did you have a favorite stop? We made probably 2 a day, I'm thinking loosely, sometimes 3, sometimes
Yeah,
1.
yeah, I sure did. My fiance, as we were driving up to Flag, said, I've been wanting to get baptized again for about 5 years. And she said, the Holy Spirit keeps telling me, not yet, not yet, not yet, not yet. So for 5 years, she's basically waiting for the signal. Now is the time, now is the place. And she said, I want you to baptize me in the river on this trip. So on that particular day, we pulled off to the bank of the Colorado River, and our guide, as you remember, led us through around the corner, and there are the turquoise waters of the little Colorado River. And she goes, this is where I want to be baptized. So we found a little pool a couple hundred yards upstream and just sat down in that little miniature gentle bathtub, and I baptized her. And then I asked her, she is a licensed chaplain, and I asked her if she would baptize me. So to do that together with your fiance in the aquamarine waters of the little Colorado River, that was my favorite stop.
Wow. Boy, that's almost going to make the wedding ceremony like, yeah, and that.
Yeah. And I think she still wants to marry me even after I took her on the Colorado River for 7 days.
Well, I think a lot of us had apprehensions, concerns, because until you've done something, you don't know you can do it. And we kind of knew what to expect, but I don't think you could ever completely know what to expect.
The most that you can know what to expect is this company, Azra, did I thought, a wonderful job of feeding you information in advance. And of course, and legally, in some ways, they have to warn you. You may be doing this, you may be doing that, and then you sign your life away. And then you can look at pictures and videos, but all of that is kind of transactional up here. It's not until you get on the river and you experience the first rapid, the first monsoon under a tree while you're trying to eat sandwiches, and the dust storm blowing stuff in your face that. And the other thing, Lisa, too, is that I certainly knew you, and you knew most of the people on the trip, but I didn't know the other 12 people that I would be on this trip with. So you're going off into an enormous adventure, and you don't really know the people that you're with, which I think leads me to one of my other really great, for me, an important conclusion and understanding is that when you're getting ready or are doing anything of great significance in life, it really matters who you're with. Small group, big group, and you did a marvelous job of convening a group of people that were cohesive and could enjoy the experience together, support each other, laugh with each other, encourage each other, enlighten each other, and who you travel with makes a big difference, whether you're going down the highway or going down the river.
Amen to that. You know what? Let's take a break and come back and talk, not talk about the people in a in a dishy way, but let's come back and talk about the people.
Be great.
So you know, AZ250 is our state's participation in the country turning 250 next year. One celebration is Operation Freedom March on the Arizona Trail. It's for military veterans, their families, and supporters. The goal is for someone involved to walk every step of the 800-mile trail during the year. For more information about Operation Freedom March, go to the Arizona Trail website. Thanks. So we're back. And speaking of the people, we know that we had your fiance and my daughter. Of course, you had met Sedona. That's not the same as
I
knowing
have.
someone, but
Right.
you had met. But yeah, I was repeatedly impressed that Connor, Michael, you, anybody, you helping her put up her tent. I mean, you had your own tent to deal with, and you still helped Sedona put up her tent more than once. And there was a lot of that kind of thing.
Yeah, there really was. I kept trying to help people get up on the boat, but Michael always got into the primary help position before I could. And so he was the grand helper on the trip. But I just always noticed that how eager people were to lend a hand, to carry a bag, to help put up a tent, to whatever it might be. And I know that people in groups aren't always that way. Sometimes people look out for their own and they want to get there first, and again, a tribute to you, I think, for intuitively knowing that I think this group will click, and I think we really did.
Well, and yeah, I just said, who wants to go? And these are the people who said, I do. But maybe there was a higher power at work and all of that too. Uh, I think, and Azra, even if I'd said, don't you think we were the best bag line ever? They would have to say, of course you were. But the rapidity with which everybody picked up, okay, I hand it to him, he hands it to them. I think we were a well-oiled machine.
Yeah, and for those who don't know what a bag line is, I don't know what a bag line was, but in order to unload the boat, we would form a staggered alternating line from the bow of the boat up onto the beach, and then the guides would pass off a bag. It would go to the opposite person, then the opposite person, like a zigzag. And we were clicking along pretty good with sleeping bags and tents and cook stoves and bailing buckets, and it was a sight to behold.
Yeah, yeah. What was the hardest thing to get used to?
Um, the groover. And
AKA the
that's
restroom, AKA.
the outdoor toilet. And without sparing our guests much detail, using an outdoor toilet that's not part of an outhouse, it's about as basic as you can imagine. That was the hardest thing. But even then, you had to be able to find some humor, and then to be able to enjoy the elements that you were in. So that, and I think not sleeping that well for 7 nights, because you don't have your mattress, and don't have a ceiling fan on, and there's noises out there, and it's a magnificent environment to be in, but you just don't sleep as well when you're uninitiated to that environment.
Well, and I don't know, maybe Liam, the guide, slept like a rock, but yeah, and as you and I know, and the listeners do not, I had gone first at 24, 1982, and then 84, and then 99, and then now. So 26 years ago was my last trip, but I don't think I ever slept much either. I think it's just such an alien experience. And I even wonder if our brains are just churning
Yeah,
frantically trying to
I'm
store
sure.
memories.
I'm sure. Yeah, yeah.
That's part of it too. Now, the rapids, which are kind of why people go in a way, When the first 3 times I went, I was scared a couple of times. And this is the first time, thank God, I wasn't scared. And part of that is Liam and part probably maturity. And you took the big one. Tell us about where you were for Lava Falls, the
Yeah,
highest, fastest navigable rapid in the Western
yeah.
Hemisphere.
Well, it was a really thrilling experience, and I loved your idea the night before of drawing straws to see who would get to sit up on the bow of the boat, that high impact splash zone. And I was fortunate to draw the short straw. The next shortest straw went to Andrew, and he very graciously turned around and gave it to my fiance. So she and I were able to ride on the two respective noses of the boat down Lava Falls, and it's rated as a 10, which is the max. And boy, it must have been a 5-foot drop down into the hole, and about 200 gallons of water come up in your face, not once, not twice, but 3 times. And it doesn't last long, but you've just experienced a white knuckle e-ticket ride, and it cools you off pretty well as well. So.
That I'm sure. I was facing backwards this time because I wanted to get Liam. And did your GoPro pick it up from the front?
I haven't dug into the GoPro yet to see if I capture it or not, but I sure hope so. So I'm holding the GoPro up against my chest and the strap on one hand, and I thought this is as close as I'll ever get to saddle bronc riding, and feeling like holding on with one hand and
Yeah.
with a GoPro in the other. So I'll be curious to see what I got, if I got anything.
But at least you didn't have to make a decision. Let go of the rope, let go of the rope, let go of
That's
the rope.
right. Yeah.
Well, before we go to a second break, this is a first for me. We both have the coffee mug of the show.
Yes, we do.
Would you care to describe it to the
Cheers.
people, the nice
Yeah,
people?
it's a beautiful Yeti type mug, and everybody that went on the trip got one of these, and it's a travel mug, and came in handy every morning for coffee at 5 a.m. And along the way. So this is a treasured memory, and I'm glad that my mug and your mug make the mug of the show.
Yeah, yeah, celebrating 60 years. Established 1965. I've never even read it till now. Azra, Grand Canyon rafting. Yeah, those are, it's a handy time to have gone, isn't it?
Yeah, very much so. The 60 years.
I don't know what kind of mugs other people got, but we get this one. Well, let's break and come back. I was in Flagstaff before our river trip and took my friend and daughter into the Visit Flagstaff headquarters at the historic train depot. We wandered the aisles and all bought things we loved. Some of the gems to me are the copper mugs, the great tile coasters, the Route 66 branded clothes, and the books for children and adults, hiking and history and sightseeing, oh my. Check out Visit Flagstaff's Visitor Center when you visit Flagstaff.
It's nice to have you back with us as Lisa and I kind of recount the epic adventure of going down the Colorado River.
I wonder what percentage of people see the canyon from below the rim. I didn't ever think to ask anyone that.
Well, I believe that I heard the number 30,000 people go down the river every year. And I think Grand Canyon National Park gets into the more than 2 million visitors a year. So it is a infinitesimal percentage of the total people that are actually in the park or see the canyon.
Now, you've been to the South Rim and the North Rim?
Just the South Rim.
Just the South, which is
Yeah.
what 90% of us do.
Right.
When you looked at because when I looked at the canyon from the South Rim the first time, I thought, yep, looks like every gas station calendar I've ever seen. I couldn't really figure out what I was looking at. Were you better at that than I was?
I had this sense, of awe and wonder at the magnificent creative power of God that something like this could result out of the formation of the earth. But I also realized that from eye to eye, I was only seeing probably 10% of the canyon. So the massive scope of the canyon is something that really struck me as I was standing up on the rim. And then when we finally got off the river, we traveled 227 miles on the river. There, the canyon in length, it goes for another 50 or 60 miles. So from Lee's Ferry to Pierce at Lake Mead, it's 250 miles. This massive, one of the 7 great natural wonders of the world. It's 250 miles long. And it's just about impossible to get your mind around the enormity of it.
Yeah. And looking up, and especially from that inner gorge with those glistening black volcanic sheer walls pretty close on either side. And then other places where you go, okay, that kind of looks like the canyon because there's more
Yeah,
layers.
yeah.
And then the poor people who would hike out or try to and realize, oops, that was just one level. There's more.
Right, there's more. Yeah, yeah.
Man, those early, I don't know, fearless, but certainly intrepid and stalwart explorers take my breath away.
Yeah, in reading the account of John Wesley Powell's initial trip down the river with his 10 hardy souls, they didn't have a clue what they were getting into. And in many ways, they were ill prepared to have navigated the river with a guide in a big, fat, 35-foot long pontoon boat with safety straps. I really can't get my mind around somebody who would be willing to do that and say, yeah, that's a good idea, let's go. So the pioneer spirit is, you and I had chatted about that a couple of times. It's one of the things that has made our nation what it is.
I think that's an excellent point. And he was a Union general, Civil War, one-armed, and I think they lashed a chair to the top of the boat and he looked from there. One of my favorite lines, Dana, not just canyon related, but all related, was somewhere where he described the last night with his men down at their fire circle, our camp circle, and he said, a feeling so sweet, it's almost a grief. Can you get a whiff of that?
I don't know that I can. I'd have to think about
Okay.
that for a while and try to put myself in a situation like that. But a sweet grief, maybe. No, I
You don't
can't
get
hazard
that.
a guess on that. So,
Yeah, I think even our last night, I felt a little bit of that because it is such an intense, special time with these people. And even if you go back, it's going to be a different trip.
it will be.
And
Yeah,
so
yeah.
the knowledge that this happens once, but it was bang nigh perfect. And what can I regret about something that was almost perfect?
No, absolutely. It's perfect in every way.
And we get pictures to prove it. We close out with a question and a reading. So, question, sir, what remains a surprise? What made you go, whoa?
Well, Thea, my fiance, and I were laughing about this last night. You at the end of the day, you feel like you'd like to get at least somewhat clean. But the idea of getting clean in the Colorado River, so we would take a few clothes and a bar of soap and a towel. We would go down to the river's edge and lather up a little bit, rinse ourselves off, and then you look down at the water that you're bathing in, and it's brown. And we just, in thinking back about it, we felt pretty good about washing in brown, muddy, silty water. Just the sensation of it. And you would never, if you saw that kind of water coming out of your bathtub, you'd call the plumber and run away. But boy, with a bar of soap in your hand, the cool water of the Colorado River felt really, it felt good. And so we've had a good laugh about that.
That is so true. Yeah, everything is relative, isn't it? And cleaned. But when I got home, it was the first time I could put lotion or anything on my face that didn't further exfoliate with the sand.
That's
And I
right.
don't know if you've noticed, my heels are like baby smooth.
Several people said that, yeah, because you get that sand in your shoe, and it's like getting
Yeah.
a salt scrub for 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. Yeah.
With every step. But we will always have the photos, we will always have the memories. And as long as some of us are still alive and get to talk about it, we will always have, well, I guess even if we can't talk about it, we will still have the trip.
Yeah, exactly.
We spoke, I think, briefly on the canyon about, I think Liam referenced the hidden canyon that Ed Abbey had written. And if it works for you, I'm going to close with that quote because
Sure.
it's such a lovely one.
It is your show.
Yeah, but I want my guest, my first and only so far guest, to be happy. Okay, so this is Ed Abbey. Night and day the river flows. If time is the mind of space, the Colorado is the soul of the desert. Brave boatmen come, they go, they die. The voyage flows on forever. We are all canyoneers. We are all passengers on this little, living, mossy ship, this delicate dory sailing round the sun that humans call the earth. Joy, shipmate, joy.
That's beautiful. Yeah.
And did I tell you that he lifted the line, Joy, shipmate, joy, from a Walt Whitman poem?
Didn't know that.
Yeah, I found it by accident in a bookstore and thought, wait a second. But I was really glad he did, because the Whitman poem to me was a little pedantic, and I think this just glows. So I thought, good for you, Ed, for figuring out what can be appropriated and what
That's
can't
right.
be.
Good, good. You know, I had one quick thought here
Yeah.
about a reading. As a believer, it was a special experience to roll down the canyon. I mentioned the baptism, but to transit through the scope of God's creation, to see the majesty, the power, the awesomeness of it. My mind went back to Psalm 8. When I consider your heavens, the work of your fingers, the moon and the stars, which you have set in place, what is man that you are mindful of him? So here we are, tiny microscopic ants slowly passing through the enormity of God's majestic, powerful, explosive creation, and to think he did all this, but he still knows my name. And the juxtaposition of those two things kept rolling through my mind throughout that trip.
That's a beautiful thought. I agree. And I said at one point to somebody, I think an epitaph might be, I have been as vital a part of the world as any raindrop. You're right. We are that small and that fleeting, and yet we get to experience it.
Yeah.
Psalm 8, never would have known. Good for
There
you.
it is. Yeah.
Well, I love that the listeners got to hear a little bit more of your wonderful voice, and I love that we got to talk about the river.
Yeah, thank you again, Lisa, for the invitation to join you on that trip, for again convening such a remarkable group, and for opening the door for an experience of a lifetime for me.
Oh, I'm so glad you both came. Thank you.
Thanks for having me, and congratulations on your podcast too. I'm really happy to be a guest, and then to have a small part of it week by week.
Thank you. All right. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
We'd really like to hear from you about anything this show led you to think about. Write to us at celebratingaz.com. The wizard behind making a conversation into a podcast is Tom Heidinger. The music comes from Daniel Blatney. And I'm Dana Cooper.